Hi guys, Mama Nature here. Today we're going to make cinnamon raisin buns, the ones that I used to make for the market in Belize, and I'm doing this by special request for some of my favorite people, my Belizean family, Nadi and Gianna and Janelli. So let's get started. Mama Nature here. We're going to start by heating 3/4 of a cup of milk in a saucepan on the stove, just until it starts to bubble. All right, you can see now that the milk is starting to get a little bubbly around the edges, and it's starting to let off some steam. I don't know if you can see this. It's warmed, and so we're going to go ahead and add a 1/4 cup of butter, or a 1/2 stick, but you have to use real butter. You can't use the Blue Bonnet or any kind of margarine or cholesterol to get the flavor and the right texture. So we're just going to gently mix the butter in. All right, that's mixed. So I'm going to go ahead and let that cool off while we begin to add the rest of our ingredients together. Go ahead and add our dry ingredients to our mixing bowl. We're going to start with the flour. We want 2 1/4 cups of the BA flour. I'm using all-purpose flour here. All right, so there's our flour. Now we're going to go ahead and add our instant dry yeast, or active dry yeast. And for you, what you want to use is the brown bag. That's the one that I always use. And you want about a tablespoon. I want 1/4 cup of white sugar. And that's actually the exact measurement of this spoon. 1/4 cup. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Make it nice and level by just scraping it across that flat edge right there. All right, that's all of our dry ingredients. I'm just going to quick give it a stir with a spatula to combine everything. And once all of the dry ingredients are together, we can go ahead and add the moist ones. So we're going to begin with our egg. I'm going to toss that into the sink. Score! And I need 1/4 cup of water. When I use water in these recipes, I always use the distilled water because it holds onto the ingredients better. You know what? Crystal water is actually distilled water, so that will work perfectly. So 1/4 cup, 2 ounces, add in there. And then we're going to add vanilla, real pure vanilla. You know that because you guys bake. I want 1 teaspoon. And then we're going to go ahead and add our butter and milk mixture. And I'm going to use the scraper to get it all in there. I'm going to use the paddle attachment for my mixer, and because there's a lot of flour in there, I'm going to start it on a nice low speed. All right, you can see it's all very well mixed together, so we're going to add that final cup of flour. All right, so again, I don't want the flour to go poof out into the room, so I'm just going to put it on a nice slow speed. In a small bowl, I'm going to put together a cup of brown sugar. Light or dark, doesn't really matter. The dark brown sugar, of course, is going to be a deeper molasses flavor, but play around with it to pick the one that you like the best. And then we're going to do a tablespoon of cinnamon. Our mix that we're going to spread out over the dough, you'll see in a minute. We're just going to blend those together. Beautiful. Now put that aside. Now we're going to do the fun part. I'm going to take a little bit of flour and put it on our surface. Spread that around a little bit with the hands. Nice. And then we're gonna take our dough out of the bowl. Put it right there on the flour. We're gonna roll it out to about 12 inches by 9 inches. So we're gonna make a big rectangle out of it. Press it with your fingers first to get it to do the shape you want. That's just a little tip. And then you grab your rolling pin and we'll get it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. I've got funny edges, but it's roughly 12 inches by 9. All right, now this is where it's going to get fun. This is where we're going to go ahead and put all of our filling. We'll start with the milk. It's about 2 tablespoons of milk. And you really just pour it right on there. And we'll move it around with our hands just to get the entire surface wet. There we go, beautiful. And then we're gonna take that sugar mixture and spread that all over the milk. Then you can get in there with your hands and spread it all around nice and even. Now what I'm gonna do next is put on my raisins, but I mean you can get really creative with this if you wanted to. You could put chocolate chips, you could put marshmallow, anything you want. Let your imagination run wild. This could be a lot of fun. So spread that as much to the edge as we can. There we go. I don't want that. All right. And I have these little boxes of raisins. You know, you can get them in the market in a plastic bag. You can get them in the Chinese too. I'm just gonna spread them around by eye. It's sort of like doing a pizza pie. You want to spread all of your toppings nice and evenly. So this is a lot of sugar and flour, yes, but these are all natural ingredients and nothing that's bad for you. Of course, you don't want to eat the whole batch of cinnamon buns all by yourself because that would be bad for you. Share them with people you love, or you know, sell them in your store. They're all spread out evenly. So I'm going to begin to roll up the dough. We're going to roll the long end just like this. And once you get it started, it kind of begins to go by itself. There we go. All right. I'm just going to let that sit for a minute because we have to get our pan ready for the oven. Now let's prepare our pan. You want a good 9 by 12 pan. You can see it's about the same length as the dough. So we measured pretty well by eye, huh? Not too bad. And I'm going to line this pan with some parchment paper. If not, you just want to make sure that your pan is buttered really well because of all the sugar that's in these, they'll tend to stick. And then you make a mess and they're not going to be really, you won't be able to sell them. They'll still taste good, but they won't look good. All right, so once that's down in there, I like to cut the corners just so that it sits nicely. I'm just going to put that to the side for a second so that we can cut our dough. Now the best way to do this is to start by cutting it in half. Now we're going to get 12 cinnamon buns out of this. So each half now is going to be 6. So we'll cut each half in half. Now each one of these is going to be 3. Makes it a lot easier to get them all even when you do it this way. We're going to put them in the pan with the side facing up. So that means you might want to squish them a little bit to get them back into a round shape. Now these are going to rise in the pan for about 30 minutes. You want them to be at least double in their size. They're going to really fill up the space in this pan. You want them equally spaced in the pan because when they rise, they will take up all that space. All right, that's it. I'm gonna throw a bread towel on top just to protect them from any dust or flies or anything that happens to be in the room. And we'll set our timer for 30 minutes. All right, let's see what we got. 30 minutes have passed and they're filling out, aren't they? Beautiful. So now what I'm gonna do is preheat my oven, and in the amount of time it takes for the oven to preheat, they'll be even bigger. And then of course when they cook, they're gonna rise in the oven. Oh boy, oh boy. Look at that, fresh out of the oven. They're all golden and brown, but you can see how the sugars go down in between each little bun. And well, this would be a real mess if it was in the pan directly. It'd be just glued to the bottom of the pan. But oh boy, this smells so good. All right, so now I'm gonna let these cool down for a couple of minutes, and then I'll be adding some icing. I took the cinnamon buns with the parchment paper out of the baking dish so that they can cool faster, and I just put the whole thing on a cooling rack. I also made a nice little drizzle. This is 1/4 cup of powdered sugar and about a teaspoon of water. You can see it's nice and thick, and I'm just going to drizzle it right over the muffins or buns. There you go. Just like this. It's nice and thick, which is just what we want. Look at that. Oh boy. If you want more, you can make more. You can add flavors to it. Like let's say you put chocolate chips instead of raisins. You could put some kind of cocoa powder in there, get a little bit of a chocolate drizzle. You can get creative as you want. Just let your imagination be in charge. All right, here we go. I always take the little runty one from the end for me because, well, it's just for me. Let's see. Oh, baby. Fun. Very good. Well, I hope you enjoyed that recipe. If you did, please click like, share it in your social media, and subscribe to my channel for whatever I do next. You don't want to miss any of it. We're having so much fun. In the meantime, remember, you can make and keep yourself well. Mwah! Mama loves you. Bye-bye now.